Hey everyone, it's Matt from City Boy, and I am so excited about today's episode. We're going to cover how to taste coffee, what differentiates good coffee from great coffee, and how coffee is making the world a better place. I also have a rock star guest on the show today to help me give away some coffee. So let's get right down to it. On the morning of February 25th, I anxiously crossed the tranquil waters of Guatemala's famous Lake Atitlan, which is often compared to Italy's Lake Como. Its shores are also home to one of the country's most underrated coffee regions. I docked in the town of Santiago and waited. Today, I would meet my first Cup of Excellence winner. If the coffee world were Hollywood, Cup of Excellence would be its Academy Awards. Every year, the Alliance for Coffee Excellence partners with coffee-producing countries in Africa and Latin America to hold a nationwide competition. The top 20 coffees will be selected from hundreds of entries and auctioned off, resulting in record profits for farmers. Last year, an award-winning lot from Costa Rica set a record when it sold for $300.09 per pound. So you can imagine how excited I was to meet Javier Cabrera, who won 6th place in Guatemala's 2019 Cup of Excellence, to find out what he's doing to produce coffee that's so exceptional. Javier is a 4th-generation coffee farmer, but that almost wasn't the case. His great-grandfather, H. Abraham Cabrera, originally acquired his first coffee plantation in 1909, which he named San Isidro Chacaya. He passed it down to Javier's grandfather, Mario, and it seemed coffee would be in the Cabrera family for generations. But in the late 1970s, during Guatemala's 36-year civil war, a guerrilla army attempted to seize their farm for political gain. Mario was given 2 options: hand over the farm or bribe the guerrillas. He decided against both, and the family abandoned the farm. Javier's father told him that he would need to learn a new profession, and so Javier became an architect. But what he really wanted was to eventually return to San Isidro Chacaya. In 1991, after years of uncertainty, Javier's father returned to the farm, and eventually, in 2013, Javier was able to transition from architecture to farming. And since that time, his passion for coffee has only grown. Right off the bat, Javier shows me things I've never seen on other farms. You may recall on episode 2, I showed you coffee being dried on Bella Vista's coffee patio. After the fruit is removed from the coffee cherry, the seed has to be dried to 11% humidity. Javier dries his coffee in the shade.
If you get the coffee over 40 degrees, you compromise the walls of the cells, you get the oils out. 30.5. 30.
He's talking Celsius. In the sun, it's hotter.
45. And here it's 37.
The first 2 days, the coffee dries in the sun, and when the humidity drops to 40%, it's moved to the shade. This has significantly improved Javier's coffee.
4 points 1 year later.
That's right, he said points. In episode 3, I explained the difference between commodity coffee and specialty coffee. Farmers selling commodity coffee are making less than $1 per pound. And there are these guys that are all along the roads, and they're called coyotes. They remind me a lot of drug dealers, actually, except they're buying instead of selling. But they've got a couple of $1,000s in their pocket and a scale, and everybody knows, don't mess with them. But basically, people come and sell them coffee, and they pay them these really dirt cheap prices for the coffee. So people selling to the coyotes are stuck in this cycle of poverty. All coffee, everywhere in the world, is graded on a scale from 1 to 100. In order for coffee to be considered specialty, it has to have a score of 80 or above. The coffee that Javier entered into Cup of Excellence got a score of 89.42, and the top score that year was 90.16. So 4 points is a big deal. And while taste is subjective, a coffee score isn't. Industry professionals are trained to determine these scores through very standardized practices. The idea being that if a buyer and seller can agree on a coffee score, they can agree on a price. Next, Javier shows me how he's fermenting. And again, it's not like anything I've seen yet in Guatemala. Fermentation is one of the ways to remove the coffee's fruit from its seed. In episode 2, you may remember Bellavista let the cherries ferment anywhere from around 8 to 15 hours. Javier is letting his coffee ferment over a period of 3 days, and yet it doesn't over-ferment.
Air from the bottom and from the top to prolong fermentation. It gets air from the chimney and air from the wall.
Javier's fermenting coffee even smells good, kind of sweet and zesty. Not only will Javier's decisions about processing affect the score, but it will also help accent the flavors of the bean. And I know people are always talking about flavor notes and it might seem pretentious or confusing, but for just a moment, let's compare coffee to wine. If you were to make a red wine in California, it would be very different from the same red wine if you produced it in, say, France. And the same thing is true of coffee.
You can have two varieties, different varieties from here, and they're gonna be a lot different. You could try the same variety, but 1 year apart, and they're gonna be different.
Everything from weather to soil to lengthy fermentation affects the flavor of the final bean. But what I wanted to know was how Javier started doing these things that were so drastically different than what I'd seen other farmers doing.
It's trial and error. You're going to be in Huehue, right?
Yes.
You're going to El Injerto. Don Arturo came here and he told me, no, you know what, you should do this and this and this. So I did basically everything he told me to do. And now I'm like making my own research, because whatever worked for him there is not gonna work here. There it's cold the whole day, so we have a very different weather. So let's see what happens. I mean, the only thing is to be copying whatever you do, so you can decide if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
You heard that right, cupping. It's the way that industry professionals arrive at the scores that we were talking about earlier. And I'm really excited because today's guest actually teaches people how to arrive at those scores. Her name is Trish Rothgeb of Wrecking Ball Coffee, and she's the person who coined the phrase third wave coffee.
Hi, I'm Trish Rothgeb from Wrecking Ball Coffee. Excuse me a minute. Take this off and kind of defog my glasses here. Wrecking Ball Coffee is a roastery and cafe, one in San Francisco, one cafe, one roastery, and I'm coming to you from the Berkeley store, the one that we opened last year, and it's a very beautiful lounge featuring this beautiful mural that was painted by Royal Dog. It's closed now, of course, like everyone else. Both stores in Berkeley and in San Francisco continue to sell coffee through the front door, and can't wait for everyone to come back someday. I heard you're gonna enjoy the Guatemala coffee. I enjoy it. It's one of my favorites this year, and looking forward to get the new season coming in. Tasting Guatemala's again this week, the 2020 harvests. So looking forward to bringing that to you in a few weeks.
Today, I am thrilled to be giving away a bag of Wrecking Ball's Huehuetenango Los Dos Socios coffee. If you want to enter for the coffee, you know the drill. Leave a comment or join the Patreon. Details below in the description. And I'm really excited to be sending out this bag of coffee to last week's winner, Dave Johnston in Los Angeles. This is Javier's coffee, so I'm really excited to be sharing this with you. Congratulations, Dave. Now, Javier was talking about the importance of cupping. In Cup of Excellence, the top 10 coffees are cupped at least 120 times. Javier took classes sponsored by Anacafé, Guatemala's national coffee organization, and the Alliance for Coffee Excellence, who created Cup of Excellence to learn how to cup. And in 2015, he was asked to serve as one of the tasters for the competition. The process for cupping is standardized and designed to be done anywhere with a fairly basic setup. I learned how to do it when I visited Bellavista in Antigua. Here we are smelling the coffee grinds, which is how the process typically begins. It was amazing to me that I was able to take everything I learned in Antigua and jump right in with Javier. He laid out 9 different coffee samples from different parts of the farm, then added water to the coarsely ground coffee sitting in each cup, just like I'd seen in Antigua. Then we started smelling the coffee, just like I'd done in Antigua. And at 5 minutes, we broke the crust of the coffee with a spoon and smelled it, just like... Well, you get the idea. Finally, at 8 minutes, it's time to sample the coffee. Rather than drink it, you slurp it from your spoon and spit it out. That helps it spread around your mouth so you can taste it fully. The folks at Bella Vista, like many people in the coffee world, have very fancy slurps. But Javier is a man of the people with a much more down-to-earth sounding slurp. I felt very reassured that there's nothing wrong with my slurping technique. During a cupping, the coffee is sampled 3 times, once when it's at its hottest and twice more as it gets cooler. Javier suggests that the first time we look for defects. As the coffee cools, if it's a good one, the flavor should remain interesting all through the rounds of tasting. But if it's not as good, it will probably become more apparent that it's lackluster. After several times around the table, I identify my favorites, 17 and 19. Javier thinks 19 is the best one on the table, but says they're very similar. They were apparently 1 day apart from the same plot. If we were scoring formally, after defects, we'd look for specific traits related to aroma, flavor, aftertaste, acidity, body, uniformity, balance, and sweetness. Javier is cupping for his own purposes, but he still has a rough idea of what the coffee might be scored.
We have a 1 to 5, but if you want to go to SCA, these two are going to be probably 86, 87, and this one are going to be like 85.
It took Javier several years to get his coffee to this quality, but he didn't do it alone. Cup of Excellence helped him discover what a good cup of coffee could taste like, and Don Arturo from El Huerto taught him trade secrets that helped him improve his cup quality.
Yeah, we understand that we're not competition. For example, you own a coffee shop in New York. You don't want to get all your coffee from this farm. You want variety. So what? You get some coffee from me, and you get some coffee from my neighbor, and you get some coffee from someone else in Antigua, and some coffee from Huehue, and some coffee from Faijanes. We're not competition. We complement each other. And what I do here, it probably will do. It will be good in some other region, or probably it won't work at all. It's not that, hey, you know what, you're copying what I'm doing. There's no such a thing. For example, here in that farm over there, in the other side of the lake, I get the morning sun. They get the afternoon. They have a cloud all over there, and that's every afternoon. Whole different issues with fungus and humidity and other stuff that I don't have, and we're just 2 miles apart. So we are not like selfish with that, you know. We like to share. The case of El Injerto, Don Arturo has been, he has been very, very, very nice with me. He basically told me all his secrets. I don't know if he's happier now that I beat him in price.
Javier isn't just grateful to Don Arturo at El Huerto. He's paying it forward by giving back to his community. Together, we visit a nearby coffee co-op, Atitlan. Javier helped them to improve their quality, and it's made a big difference. He even gave them seeds from one of the plants that Don Arturo gave him. Jose, Atitlan's vice president, tells me that before founding the co-op, they as farmers had to sell to coyotes and take whatever they were given. But now, if somebody wants to buy their coffee, they get to decide the price. And now that they've improved their quality, they've already sold out for the rest of the year. And that hasn't gone unnoticed. Now everybody in the Lake Basin is interested in improving the quality of their coffee.
Since I helping these guys in Atitlan, the other co-ops have seen that and have seen how these guys and they see how they're doing. Now everyone wants to do that.
They started with 24 producers, but now there are 600 of them. With a big smile on his face, Jose shows me the names of the family members and the payouts they've received for their coffee. He tells me that together, they can do better.
And that's why tomorrow, mañana, we have a meeting to make the DOC in the region. And we want to spread the knowledge to the whole region because we want to right now, what happened is that the coffee was purchased by the coyotes here and take it to Antigua, and they sell it as Antigua. So we have the quality. We don't have the name. So once we have the name, people would rather sell the coffee as Atitlan than Antigua, because they will get the money for themselves and not through a third person that doesn't do anything to the change.
That night, when I traveled back across the lake, I was so excited by what I'd seen. At Atitlan, I met people whose lives had been completely changed by specialty coffee. And Javier, who'd gotten help from Don Arturo, Anacafé and Cup of Excellence, was now trying to help hundreds of people in the Atitlan region. It sounds incredibly corny, but I felt like I experienced people's passion for a beverage fueling human kindness. And I have to say, it made me feel really good about the world that we live in. Cup of Excellence is having their first ever competition this year in Ethiopia. And they're gonna have to change things around quite a bit because of COVID-19, but they're sending coffee through the mail. It's gonna make its way to judges, and the Ethiopian farmers are gonna have their winning lots auctioned off online, just like always. And I am going to be tasting the winning coffees on camera for you this year. That's a really exciting thing to be able to do, and I've never gotten to try one of these Cup of Excellence winning coffees before, so I'm really excited for that to happen. I don't know when it's happening yet, but if you want to subscribe, you'll know when it does. That's it for this episode, everyone. I will see you next time on May 21st. Take care.